Welcome back again to the Feedback Loop, the podcast where we explore the intersection of technology, business, and the human experience. And today we're going to challenge everything you know about traditional institutions. When you think of a church, you probably don't think of Bitcoin donations, NFTs, or custom software ecosystems with AI. But our guest today is changing that. Benni Amann joins us from the International Christian Fellowship, or ICF, operating like a high-growth tech startup across 80 locations in 13 countries. ICF is a church planting movement that uses technology to solve a very human problem. How do you scale a global community without losing that personal touch? All right, here with Benni Amann. Benni, thank you for joining the Feedback Loop podcast. I'm really excited to talk to you. Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, today we're talking about something that most people haven't really thought of before. We're talking AI and church. You work with ICF, which is International Christian Fellowship. Most people view churches as very traditional institutions. You offer a unique tech-forward approach described as a different church experience. And the church itself operates in many countries almost like a modern franchise startup with your own software ecosystem. Really curious your thoughts on how you got involved at ICF and how are you using AI tools to manage everything that goes into this new church experience?
Yes, that's a super interesting topic. I love to talk about that because, as you said, like when you think about church, normally you don't think about AI or technology or like the startup world. And that is exactly different when it comes to ICF. So we are a Christian church with a biblical foundation. So not so different at the core when you compare it to the Catholic Church or other churches, but different in the approach how we build church and how it looks. It's a very modern church, and we're trying to speak the language of our time to reach people they are at the moment. So that's also the reason behind tech approach and using new technologies like AI to speak the language of our time. That's also my background. I was always a believer. I was always part of church. When I was 16, I was searching. It was a little bit boring kind of church for me and not so modern. So I was searching for other kind of churches, and there I found also like ICF in Austria where I lived back then. And it inspired me because my background is also tech and digital innovation was always my passion. So to see a church who is open for that and modern and tries new things and is thinking innovative encouraged me to be part of a church like that. I started as a volunteer. Now I'm working full-time for the church movement. We are based here in Zurich. It's kind of headquartered. It's multiplied over the years in 13 different countries. We have now like around 80 different locations all around Europe, but also like in Brazil, for example, or Cambodia. So pretty international, super exciting. Yeah.
That is amazing. And it's really interesting. I'm curious how this concept actually came about, because in hindsight, it feels almost obvious. You need to meet people, you need to meet younger people where they're at. They're on social media. They don't often have attention spans that last beyond 1 minute. And so it's a very, very big contrast with what you typically envision the traditional church experience. And now you guys are growing, it seems very fast. Tell us a little bit about how you expand different locations using technology. How do you manage that?
What inspires us, or the foundation how we build churches, always based on the Bible. And when we look into the Bible, Jesus always used the communication tools of his time. He spoke a lot of parables or in a language that people could understand. And even if we think about the history of church was always a place of innovation. When we think about monks, monasteries, like the introduction of new grain varieties, or they started beer brewing, what was very innovative back then, or development of watering systems. When we think about Martin Luther, he was an early adopter of the printing press, for example, or a lot of universities are founded by monks or theologians, like the University of Oxford or Bologna, Paris. Hospitals are found out of a Christian context. So it was church was always part of innovation. Music, when we think about music, a lot of innovation started from the church. And I think sadly that the church in the last decades missed that a little bit. And that was something when ICF founded was a huge goal. The founder, he's called Leo Bigger. He was a part of a Catholic church. He was very passionate. He couldn't invite his friends because it was not modern. It was kind of, they don't want to go there. So he thought about, okay, why not start a church that is modern and he can invite his friends. And that is exactly why we built church like that and why we want to reach new people. Our belief that we want to reach people with the gospel and in a kind of modern way, how we do it. Yeah.
I see you guys are inspiring people with videos on YouTube, you're on Telegram, you're on X, you're on all the social media channels, you're meeting people where they're at. What is the use case of AI going forward to inspire new generations to get involved in church?
Super interesting question, because we live in a time where a lot of new technology is popping up and we have to talk about and think about how we can adapt that. That is also relevant for church, in my perspective. It's kind of like our DNA to be always innovative and ask ourselves how we can use new technologies. For example, we started off make it possible to donate Bitcoins in 2018.
Oh, wow.
And so we are trying a lot of new things. Like we tried NFTs, not to earn money, but just to try these new technologies. And the same is with AI. When ChatGPT was a kind of pushing that hype into our society and everyone was talking about AI, we also started thinking about how can we use AI in a good way. And when it comes to technology or new innovation, I think there are always two ways you can handle it. You can be fearful, take a step back and say, I'm afraid of that and I don't want to use that and it's maybe bad for us. The other approach is to be open for that, take it and use it in a positive way. And I think our society, but also the church, missed a little bit the digital area where everyone was using the internet, web and social media. Social media can be very positive. It also has a lot of negative aspects. I think that's the same with AI. We are trying to test it, use it in different areas of the church in an operative way, but also in a creative way. And get an experience how we can use it to make things easier or talk about it. It's similar to the startup world. We're trying to always be open to new things.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. And it's nice to hear you experimented with Bitcoin and NFTs. That really speaks to me as well, being involved in blockchain and NFTs. Like you said, it's a tool. It can be used for good or bad, depending on how you use it. If people think about this new experience of church, maybe you can guide us through what does a typical service look like?
That's a good question. I think it depends. Everyone has a different experience when it comes to church. I'm now 30 and I grew up with a classic Catholic church service. When it comes to our services, it's similar kind of when it comes to the content, but we start always with worship. So worship are prayers, you sing.
You're talking about full band rock and roll.
Full band, yes.
You know?
So modern music,
Right.
music you're listening on Spotify too, and that people like and want to sing. Our service starts always with worship, with music, and then we have a short input, a message, a sermon, but a little bit shorter, not too long, because we know today people are
attention spans.
Yeah. So maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's hard to be short. And then we have again worship. And so we're trying to not have too long service and have time for community after, eating together, sharing stories. Yeah, just community.
I mean, you talk about community, and one of the fears around AI is to depersonalize that community, right? Depersonalize that personal connection. And for a church, it's all about the personal connection. How do you use tools to actually increase that human connection, connecting people rather than replacing that?
Technology can bring a distance into relationships and community, but you can use it in a positive way. We use technology not to replace people, but to have more time for real connection. And I think that's an exact a positive way how you can use AI to make some process more efficient, or like you can automate things that are like not people based, but it's just like you have to do it because it's part of like, yeah, it's part of your job, and that is always our goal. We are using technology to bring people together, and that is our goal also with AI, to use it in a positive way.
Yeah, there's maybe a concept of the digital pastor, perhaps like so. So in the business world, you always hear the term customer support, but more for your case, it's more member care, right? So how do you feel about AI bots maybe handling that first point of contact, asking questions about where service times are, locations? Can it be helpful without being impersonal?
Personal connection, personal contact is always better than, or always, it's more authentic. And when it comes to customer support or contacting, I think you have to find a good balance where it's easy, because when someone's just asking when is the service time, or where's the location of the church, or when it comes to our platforms, if they have a simple support question, their AI can help. It's not so important, in my opinion, that the person is answering.
Yeah.
But when it comes to more personal stuff, also in church, like pastoring people, maybe they want to find a group of people, finding friendships. It's always better to have real persons behind it who are interested in you as a person. And we experience also that AI is like sometimes a little bit confusing, not super honest, or it's like technology. It's not real. It's not a real person behind that. It's just calculations and generating an answer. So sometimes it's not the best case to use AI in every use case.
What are some of the activities using technology? And as you expand, what are the things that you lean on? What are the types of tools that you use that is actually helpful in expanding the church itself?
So when it comes to church planting, it's something similar like starting a company or like having your startup. At the beginning, you are doing everything by yourself. You're trying to find a team and people who help you with planting the church. It takes time until people come and are interested. Our goal is to make that process as easy as possible. Technology should support the pastor or the church planter to not think about the technical stuff like your website or your IT stuff. So that is our goal also as the ICF movement and as a global team, to build platforms we can offer to all our churches and church plants centrally, so they don't have to think about it. We have a website, ICF Church. We have like a central metadata management platform where they can manage their social media data, service times, offers and events, for example. We have a resource platform. So everything is focusing on giving the pastors and church planters the resources so they can focus on pastoring people and investing in people.
Wow, I mean, you just described the process of every startup. So quite amazing to see how that's applied in your setting. So 5 years from now, where do you see ICF? What are the goals?
That's a good question. I think only God knows. What we're trying to do is managing our resource we have wisely. And our focus is still, we want more church plants, reach more people with the good news. We are doing our best and praying that God does the rest. Technology is just a small part of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As a project manager deep into technology for many years, is there something that you're looking forward to that you feel maybe in the future, maybe it's not there right now, but maybe AI can really help your job be more successful?
Wow, that's a big question. I think we are already doing that in a kind of way. When it comes to AI, my background is tech and I love digital innovation. I was watching every hype and different things. What is crazy when it comes to AI, I sit here every week and I'm so impressed by how fast we are developing with this technology. Even Elon Musk says he has never seen technology that develops so fast. Being able to be part of that and reading every week things and testing new tools, we are living in that. And I think we will continue to do that and trying to catch up and using that technology brings a positive way. I think company, every nonprofit, every church should do that because it's a privilege to live in a time where we can experience that kind of technology. That is, very, very interesting time.
So, Benny, this is really fascinating because I think people's understanding of what a modern church looks like and what the experience is, this is rather new for a lot of people. How can people get involved if they maybe want to start their own church in a different country, if they're not necessarily in Zurich or one of the other countries where you're at? So what's the best way to get involved?
Yeah, my first encouragement is always like seek for God. That's the most important thing. And church is a place where you meet people, get encouraged and find community. So the second thing would be find a church, wherever you live, just search for it. When it comes to ICF, we are a church planting movement. So you can find locations just online. We have a website, icf.church. So you can search for a location there, or if you're a church planter or want to start a new church, you can always reach us. We love to build with you and trying new things.
Excellent. We'll provide the links in the show notes. And Benny, it's really fascinating conversation. Anything you want to leave the listeners with before we go?
I think we talked a lot about the things, so appreciate the conversation. Loved it.
Awesome. Maybe if I find myself heading to Zurich sometime, it sounds like a very exciting service and I'm looking forward to seeing where you guys go.
You can always watch it on YouTube to get a first impression. Yeah.
Of course, I'll use the digital channels.
Yeah.
Thank you, Benny. Good talking with you. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check out the show notes for the links to ICF Church and the ICF Hub platform Benny mentioned. And if you're looking to close the feedback loop in your own organization, whether it's a global church or a growing startup, head over to gleap.io, that's GLEAP.io, to see how Gleap can streamline your customer support operations through AI. Thanks for listening to The Feedback Loop. I'm Joe Benso, and we will see you in the next episode.